We all have that image, don't we? The
Yeah.
majestic deer, tall and proud in the forest. But today, well, we're going to the complete opposite end of the family tree. We're talking about maybe one of the most surprising mammals out there.
The Pudu.
Ah, the Pudu.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen one, just picture a deer. Okay, now shrink it. Shrink it right down until it's, I don't know, the size of a sturdy beagle.
That's a pretty good comparison, actually.
And it's got these tiny, almost impish antlers. It's just the smallest deer in the whole world.
The scale really is the aha moment, isn't it? A fully grown Purdue, it stands maybe 40 centimeters tall. That's what, 15 inches?
15 inches.
And it weighs only about 12 kilos. Now think about its biggest cousin, the moose.
Okay, huge difference.
Huge. The moose is 5 times taller and get this 50 times heavier. It's quite the family tree.
Definitely strange and wonderful.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, for this deep dive, we're really focusing on the southern Purdue.
Right. There is a northern species, but it's,
Yeah.
well, it's much more of a mystery, honestly. The southern Purdue is the one we know more about, the survivor down in those South American rainforests.
So our mission today is to explore how this tiny ancient deer actually survives, how it endures in what sounds like a really rugged place.
And crucially, what specific challenges are pushing it towards being threatened.
Okay, so to really get the Purdue, we need to step into its world first. We're talking about the Valdivian forest, right? Southern Chile and Argentina.
Exactly. And it's this massive, cold, wet rainforest, ancient and incredibly isolated.
Isolation seems key here.
It's everything, that geographic isolation.
Yeah.
The whole ecosystem basically functions like an island. You've got the Patagonian tundra south, the Andes Mountains east, the Pacific Ocean west, and then shrublands north.
So, like, completely boxed in.
Pretty much. Nowhere for these animals to really go or come from easily.
But how does an environment that's so cut off support such a rich ecosystem? You'd think it would need outside genetic input.
Well, that's the thing. The sheer stability over geological time allowed for this kind of hyper-evolution within that isolation. Because it's been separated for so long, the biodiversity is just staggering. Think about this. 95% of the amphibians there found nowhere else.
95%.
90% of the plants, 60% of the birds, 30% of the mammals, all unique to that spot.
Wow. And I read something truly mind-blowing. Some species there, like the Monito del Monte, are actually closer relatives to things in Australia.
Yeah, they're literal relics from Gondwana.
Gondwana, the ancient supercontinent.
Exactly. It's evidence of those ancient land bridges, just showing the immense timescales we're dealing with. And this deep time has created really specific Purdue populations, too, especially on Chiloé Island.
Right, Chiloé Island. That population's been cut off from the mainland for, what was it, over 200,000 years?
That's it. That long separation meant they evolved independently. So they're the most genetically distinct group of Purdue left today, really locked into their specific little world.
Okay, so we have this ancient, isolated landscape. Let's zoom in on the Purdue itself, this incredibly resilient little creature. What's its daily life like? Navigating shrubbery,
Like a maze. Yeah.
finding food in a cold, damp place, trying not to become food.
Right. And being so small means they need some pretty powerful adaptations. First off, just staying warm, their fur is key.
It's described as coarse and hollow, like a polar bear's fur, which is amazing insulation.
Exactly like that, yeah. But pigmented, obviously, to blend in. And it changes with the seasons.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, in winter, it's a dark brown, helps them match the grayer, wetter look of the forest then.
Makes sense.
Then in summer, it shifts to more of a reddish brown, better camouflage against all the green growth.
Smart. And the fawns. They have spots, right?
Oh.
Like little furry watermelons.
Yeah, that's a great description. Adorable little polka dots for about the first 3 months. Helps them hide while they're really vulnerable.
And they take a long time to develop inside the mother, don't they? Which seems logical for such a harsh environment.
Incredibly long gestation, yeah. Around 7 months. But the payoff is the fawn is really well developed when it's born, ready to handle that cold, wet world almost immediately. They're not fragile little things.
And those tiny antlers the males have, they look almost decorative.
They kind of are. They're shed every winter, and they're not really for fighting like in bigger deer species. It's more just a visible sign of sexual maturity, like a tiny temporary badge, you could say.
A very tiny beard, maybe. So, okay, their size helps them hide, but
Yeah.
how does it actually help them survive against predators? You'd think being small makes you vulnerable.
It's perfectly adapted for that dense jungle floor.
Hmm.
Their small size lets them literally scurry and dive into thick bushes, bamboo thickets, places a bigger animal just couldn't follow quickly.
So the jungle maze is their friend,
Absolutely. It's their best defense.
but they still need to eat. And they're picky eaters, apparently, preferring soft leaves, sprouts, fruits.
Very selective, yeah. They like the young, tender stuff, which often means they have to venture out a bit into slightly more open areas to find the best bits, trails, roadsides.
And that's where the trouble shifts, isn't it? From natural threats to something else.
Exactly. That's where the equation changes.
So let's talk natural predators first. What are we looking at? Pumas?
Yeah, the Chilean cougar or puma, it's a bit smaller down there, actually better adapted to the dense forest than the ones further north. Then you've got the local forest fox, the cod,
Cod, okay.
and horned owls, especially for the fawns.
And how do they escape these guys? You mentioned scurrying, but what about speed?
Well, here's something interesting. They don't really rely on straight line speed because, I mean, where are you going to run in a straight line in that jungle?
Good point.
Their key survival trick is quick bursts of lateral speed, zigzagging, like really sharp turns through the undergrowth to shake off a puma that's right behind them.
Okay, zigzagging. That makes sense in dense cover. So fawns are vulnerable, but it sounds like adult Pudu have a decent chance against these native hunters.
Relatively speaking, yes. They reach a kind of equilibrium, but then we get to the introduced threats.
Right, and wait. The biggest threat isn't the puma, it's dogs. Domestic dogs.
That's the shocking and frankly sad truth. Man's best friend is the Pudu's worst enemy. It comes from two main sources. Watchdogs on farms, which often roam,
Okay.
but even worse are hunting dogs used by poachers.
And the sources were really clear. These aren't people hunting for food, for subsistence, it's sport.
Exactly. Hunting for fun. And if their dogs catch a Pudu, it's just seen as a nice treat for the dogs. There's absolutely no reason for them to call the dogs off.
That's awful. Zero incentive to stop the kill.
And the frustrating part is it's not just poachers, even people who mean well. Owners who let their dogs roam outside, especially if they're not neutered, or worse, people bringing unleashed dogs into parks and reserves.
Even in protected areas.
Yes, it's a huge problem. Those domestic dogs, their instincts kick in, and they can cause absolute havoc for native wildlife like the Pudu.
And this constant danger, it's actually changing how Pudu behave. They're normally active during the day, diurnal.
Naturally, yes. But in areas with lots of people and dogs, they're shifting. They're becoming crepuscular.
Meaning active mostly at dawn and dusk.
Right. Trying to avoid us, avoid our dogs, and probably pumas too, which might be using the same avoidance patterns. It just raises massive questions when a species has to completely change its ancient routine just because we're nearby.
And even if a dog doesn't actually kill a Pudu, just chasing them
Yeah.
causes problems.
Huge secondary damage. It panics them. They might abandon a fawn. They might bolt onto a busy road, or they get pushed onto farmland.
Which leads to another massive problem.
Yes.
Disease.
Exactly. The silent crisis. Getting sick from domestic animals. The stats are pretty worrying.
What did the research show?
Well, something like 20% of wild Pudu and even 30% of captive ones show antibodies for diseases they've picked up from cattle.
20% of wild ones. And it's not just cattle, is it?
No. Even worse, maybe, over a third tested positive for Toxoplasma gondii.
That's the one from cats, right? Domestic cats.
Yep. And they're also carrying things like chlamydia abortus, which is a bacteria that causes cows to miscarry.
Oh, wow. So they pick it up and potentially spread it.
And it gets worse. Introduced red deer, brought over from the northern hemisphere, are also bringing their own set of diseases into this previously isolated ecosystem.
So you get this awful feedback loop.
Precisely. The Pudu become this wild reservoir for these diseases, which then makes it harder to protect the livestock because the source of infection is always out there in the forest.
Yeah.
It's a mess for everyone.
So living this incredibly stressful life, constantly watching for dogs, dealing with these diseases, how does that affect the Pudu biologically? How do they cope?
This is actually fascinating and really unique among deer. Pudu have some of the lowest baseline cortisol levels ever recorded.
Cortisol, stress hormone. So when they're safe, they're really chilled out.
Incredibly low-key, yeah. Very low stress hormone levels circulating. But at the slightest hint of danger, those cortisol levels spike incredibly fast. Way faster than in other deer.
Giving them that instant energy burst for the zigzagging.
Exactly. It's like an emergency turbo boost.
Yeah.
A hyper-tuned physiological response, linking their ancient survival tactics to the very modern, constant threats they face now.
That extreme response just underlines how precarious their existence is. So summing all this up, what's their official status now?
They are officially threatened with extinction, and even though they might be the most common deer species way down there at the southern tip of South America,
Which sounds good, but
the estimates put the total population at maybe only around 10,000 individuals, and those isolated groups like on Chiloé Island, they're declining fast.
and habitat loss is a driver. But it's nuanced, isn't it? It's not just cutting down trees.
Right. Deforestation is definitely breaking up populations, creating those isolated islands we talked about, but even replanting, like with lumber plantations. Well, they're trees, sure, but they don't have that dense, complex underbrush.
The hiding places.
Yeah.
The specific food they need.
Exactly. So a lot of what might technically count as forest on a map is actually useless or even dangerous for Purdue. And currently, only about 6% of their original habitat is properly protected.
Only 6%. Wow. The other 94% is gone, they're
Oh,
degraded, or leave them vulnerable, like near those roads in central Chile.
Yeah. It's not a great picture.
So what needs to happen? The research seems pretty clear on the solutions.
It does. Two main things. First, we absolutely have to protect the good quality habitat that's left, and critically, create wildlife corridors so these little isolated populations can reconnect.
Rebuild those genetic links.
Uh-huh. And second, and this is maybe the tougher one socially, we have to get control of the feral dog population and stop domestic dogs, especially unleashed ones, from getting into protected areas, period.
It sounds simple, but it's obviously a huge challenge.
It is. But protecting this tiny ancient deer isn't just about the Purdue, it's about protecting that whole unique, incredibly diverse ecosystem that it represents.
Yeah. Their struggle really does show how dramatically our presence, even things that seem harmless like letting a dog wander off leash, can completely warp a wild animal's life.
Absolutely. And maybe something for you, the listener, to think about, given everything we've discussed, the introduced species, the habitat changes what strikes you as the most surprising, maybe the most profound consequence of us being so close. Is it that forced shift in their whole daily routine, becoming active only at twilight?
Or is it that strange, dangerous situation where they end up becoming this reservoir of infection for the very farm animals we're also trying to keep healthy? Just something to mull over, maybe think about the hidden connections in the wild spaces near you.